Ons verwelkom vandag met groot opwinding vir prof Blumenthal. Prof Blumenthal is 'n forensiese patoloog verbonde aan die Universiteit van Pretoria. Hy het al verskeie boeke neergepen oor sy beroep en praat vandag in besonder met ons oor sy boek Outopsietafel. Prof is nou al byna 3 dekades in hierdie beroep. Hoe verskil forensiese patologie in Suid-Afrika teenoor ontwikkelde lande?
Sjoe, dis 'n goeie vraag. Wel, in ontwikkelde lande het hulle al die fancy schmancy goed. Ons het net ons sintuie. Ons het ons neus en ons hande en ons oë. So ons moet maar sommige plekke het van die fancy schmancy goed, maar nie al die plekke nie. So hopelik gaan dit beter raak in die toekoms.
So is dit soos wat ons dit op CSI en reekse soos Rosoli en Isles sien, of is dit heeltemal verskillend?
Ja, so dis 'n ding, die CSI effek. Mense dink ons kan die resultate so kry, maar dis nie so in die ware lewe nie. Jy weet dit vat tyd om die ondersoek te doen en al die inligting in te samel. So dis nie presies so CSI Miami nie.
Prof sê in die boek dat die oorsaak van dood dikwels ook uniek is aan Suid-Afrika. Hoekom sê prof so?
There are a couple of pathognomonic conditions which are proudly South African. So we do see things in South Africa that no one else sees in the world. For example, we've got very specific fauna and flora deaths. We've got temic, which is LD carb, known on the street as haliparimi. This is a very common South African way to die. We have necklacing. We've got mob assault. We've got lightning. We've got a lot of lightning deaths here. So we've got things that are classically South African ways to die.
Buiten bloedsweet, prof, wat verg dit om 'n forensiese patoloog te word?
Yeah, so it's a special kind of person. This job is not for everyone. This is a roeping. This is a dirty, messy, smelly, greasy, bloody, muddy, sawing, charred, cooked type of werk. Did I say smelly?
You did.
Okay, just checking. But this is not for everyone. And also our workload's a lot. There's only about 80 to 90 forensic pathologists who are board certified for the whole of South Africa. And there's about 64 million people here. So we actually need about 380 forensic pathologists for the whole of South Africa. And we've only got 80 to 90.
En prof sê ook in die boek, 'n mens moet deurlopend jou kennis opskerp, jy moet op hoogte van alles bly. Hoe doen 'n mens dit?
Yeah, so we need to know a little bit about everything. We need to know about highway design. We need to know about different cultures. We've got to know about the mores of our local population. We have to know about the different religions. We have to know ballistics. We have to know how a pediatric surgeon operates, how a neurosurgeon operates, how a cardiac thoracic surgeon operates. If there's a death in the dental chair, we have to know about dental procedures. So we're like the catchnet for the whole of society.
En in die boek verwys prof na 'n warm patat geval, daai sake wat niemand aan wil raak nie. Vertel my 'n bietjie meer daarvan.
Yeah, so I've been in this game for 26 years. That's a quarter of a century. And over the years, there are cases that we call hot potato cases. No one wants to touch them. These could be political cases, mafia cases. I mean, we've had cases where, I've done the autopsy and that lawyer's died. And they put another lawyer on that case and that lawyer's died. And I've done the autopsy. And this is scary stuff. You need a thick skin. You never know what the case is. You never know who this person is. I mean, once we had this person found dead in the veld, and this person ended up being one of the captains of industry of a huge European company that was found dead here in Pretoria.
En prof het nou gesê dit is nie werklik soos wat 'n mens sien op CSI of op TV-reekse nie. En ek dink nogal mense romantiseer dikwels die beroep en ek voel self so partykeer oor journalistiek, want prof sê in die boek tereg dat dit is regte mense wat op die tafel beland. Dit verteenwoordig 'n tragedie in iemand se lewe. Kan prof 'n bietjie meer oor dit uitbrei?
Yeah, that's why political appointments don't last in our field. I mean, hierdie is 'n roeping. This is not for everyone. They'll burn out. This is not for everyone. be a special kind of person to do forensic pathology. You can't fake it in this field. Every day waking up, constant exposure to death and dying, constant exposure to the dark side of life. You've got to be well trained for this. And the metaphor I use, which I would love to share with you today, which I want to get out there into the public, is the ship's captain metaphor. So to sail, you need to study under a good captain. So you need to study at the feet of someone that has sailed the seven seas. You need a good ship that is seaworthy, not a ship that's breaking down and sinking and you have to fix along the way. And you need to know where you're sailing. You can't just sail around the harbor. So you need all those three things to be a good ship's captain. And it's the same in forensic pathology.
Forensiese patoloog kry uiteraard ook met ongewone en vreemde gevalle te doen. Dit was vir my baie interessant toe prof in die boek verduidelik het van hierdie stuk draad wat op 'n keer met een van julle gevalle uit 'n persoon se liggaam gesteek het, maar dit was toe op die ou einde nie 'n stuk draad nie. Vertel my asseblief van daai geval.
Yeah, so you never know what you're going to find inside a body. It's actually by the grace of God that you go and do an autopsy. Anything can be inside a body. You can have a bomb inside a body. So, I mean, there are cultures on earth that want to injure their health personnel. So we need to know what's inside a body before we go in there. There could be cocked and loaded guns that can fall out of pockets. You never stick your hand in a pocket. You always pat the pockets down. There could be open syringes. There could be any infection on earth inside that body. I mean, daar's hoogs aansteeklike goed daar buite. And so in my book, I wrote about one of the strangest things we've seen inside a body. And it was a plane crash from Central Africa that came to South Africa in a steel coffin, in a wooden coffin with steel screws and 100% formalin, because that's how the bodies come back to South Africa. And then on this plane crash case, there was a piece of wire sticking out from the chest, from the Ziffy sternum. So we x-rayed the body, and it actually turned out to be the tail of a giant African rat, like that was in fetal position in the chest, and it had gone in there and the body swelled up around it, and it was just the tail that was sticking out.
Joh, dit was seker die vreemdste ding wat jy al gesien.
No, we've seen stranger things. One of the craziest things I've ever seen was a train accident, and the body looked like a Picasso. I'm sorry to say that on air, but there was like an eye here and a nose there, you know. But the stomach was intact. And in the stomach was the note from the deceased person saying, my name is this and this, and these people are coming to kill me. And we got that from the stomach contents.
Wow.
That's one of the strangest things I've ever seen in my career.
I've never heard something like that. Sounds like a movie. Daar's baie uitdagings in prof se beroep. Vertel my van die grootste uitdagings wat julle as forensiese patoloog ondervind. Selfs wanneer julle besig is om 'n autopsie te doen, maar dan ook in Suid-Afrika.
Well, you know, South Africa, we've got some problems. You know, we've got electrical issues, water issues, we've got striking issues, we've got all these things which can affect the autopsy. And die werk moet loop. You know, the job must keep going. So we need to make plans. So if the electrical head saw is not working, we have to use a manual bandsaw. If the hose pipes, or I like to call them the green water snakes, if the hose pipe's not working, then we have to actually call the fire department to fill 50-liter rubbish bins with water, and we have to use sponges to clean the body. So mens maak 'n plan. Maar die werk moet loop. We can't have dead bodies piling up.
En dan wil ek weet, prof het gesê daar is 10 lesse wat die dooies die lewendes kan leer, en dit is wat prof eintlik op die outopsietafel geleer het. Prof verwys na 10 lesse in die boek spesifiek. Noem vir my 'n paar van hierdie lesse.
Okay, well, can I just tell your viewers that, you know, when you work behind the autopsy table every day, so I'm on about 12 to 15,000 autopsies, mens raak 'n bietjie filosofies. Because from the autopsy table, you can tell so much about what's happening in the world without going outdoors. From my table, I can tell you if a new gang has moved into the neighborhood. I can tell you if there's a new emergent drug or disease on the streets. And I can tell you the health of the nation. I can tell you, like, if you start seeing a lot of suicides, or if people are getting fatter, or we can tell you what's happening in society. You know, without being at the car crash, I can tell you what happened at the car crash. And you get philosophical when you see so much death. So I'm not going to give all the secrets away. They must get the book. But like something that I would like to share is there is no reason to be out after midnight in South Africa. When I get the dockets and I see all these homicides and suicides and accidents, it's always like 2 a.m., 3 a.m., 4 a.m. There is no reason to be out after midnight in South Africa. Dis een les wat ek sal met jou meedeel.
En wat hou prof gemotiveer? Prof het gesê dit is 'n roeping, maar om dag in en dag uit met die dood gekonfronteer te word, het daai emosionele effek op 'n mens. Maar wat hou prof gemotiveer? Hoekom hou prof aan?
Wel, verhoudings is meer moeilik, ek dink. Maar ja, die werk is die werk. So we trained for this. So we trained well. It's like any other speciality. If you meet a cardiothoracic surgeon of oorneus en keel arts of just a roeping, we trained for this. But yeah, it's not for everyone. There's a lot of challenges, but a lot of good comes from this. The work's hard, but when you get the answers and you prove someone's innocent or someone's guilty and someone goes to jail, that feeling is one of the best feelings in the world. Like, you actually can't put money on that feeling. It just feels so good knowing that the truth has come out.
En hoekom het prof besluit om hierdie boek te skryf?
I just think the public needs to know what's out there. And I see myself as a public health pathologist. So you won't believe this, but forensic pathologists have done a lot of good work for humans with our public health campaigns. So it was pathologists that did the whole anti-smoking tobacco awareness campaign. It was pathologists that did the back to sleep campaign, with sudden infant death syndrome. It was a forensic pathologist that worked out you must put your baby to bed on their back and then they survive longer than if you put them face down. There's my lightning when thunder roars go indoors campaign, about the dangers of lightning. And a lot of the HIV stuff and a lot of the COVID stuff came from the autopsy table. And one case I have to share with you, there was a forensic pathologist called Gary Simmons, one of my heroes, and he did research on electric power car windows, and he highlighted the public health hazard thereof. So it was a 26-month-old female that accidentally pushed the electric power car button for the window and got strangulated. And Gary Simmons wrote an article about this and went worldwide. And now all electric power car windows in all cars have a cut-out mechanism if you get a body part stuck between the window and the car. So this indicates the public pathology role of forensic pathologists. We have a public health role to play.
En dan, wat is die grootste verskille tussen natuurlike sterftes en onnatuurlike sterftes en wanneer tree 'n forensiese patoloog dan nou in by die ondersoek?
Okay, so for any given population on Earth, about 1% will die natural deaths per year. So we got about 64 million people here, so we'll lose 600,000 due to natural diseases. These are like AIDS, cancer, heart attacks, TB. These don't need an autopsy, a medical legal autopsy. Where I get involved is onnatuurlike sterftes, unnatural deaths. This is where medicine and the law come together. So these are murders, suicides, accidents, sudden unexplained deaths. And these make up about between 60 to 80,000 autopsies per year, with about an average of 72,000. So that's what's happening in South Africa, and we got about 60 to 80,000 unnatural deaths per year in South Africa, and they need a medical legal autopsy.
En prof verwys in die boek na 24 maniere van onnatuurlike sterftes. En jy moet kennis van al hierdie maniere hê. Wat is dit? Wat is voorbeelde van dit as prof net dit so 'n bietjie daarna kan verwys?
Yeah, so if you're in this field long enough, you see that you get your bread and butter cases, like your day-to-day cases. So road traffic fatalities, gunshot wounds, sharp force trauma, blunt force trauma, electrocution, and so on. These are the ways that people die. But we need to know everything about road traffic fatalities, gunshot wounds, blunt force trauma, sharp force trauma, etc. So there's topics. So if you go to the textbooks, you'll see ons moet alles weet van daai veld. And there's about 24 of them.
Prof Blumenthal, vertel ons asseblief hoe los 'n mens komplekse misdade op en wat is belangrik wanneer jy na hierdie sake kyk?
So we use one principle, and this principle is the one principle I want to share with you today. So it's called low cards exchange principle. Every contact leaves a trace. So if you go to a scene, you'll leave something of yourself there and you'll take something from the scene with you. And if we find some evidence on you from the scene or some evidence on the scene from you, dit beteken julle was daar gewees. But what the public don't know is there's a second part to low cards exchange principle. So the degree of contact depends on the intensity, duration, and nature of contact. How hard, how long, and what kind of contact. Now, can I just say this about glitter makeup? If you go to a wedding and you're wearing glitter makeup, at the end of the evening, everyone's going to be covered in glitter makeup. That's how things spread. You know, and it ends up swallowed. I've seen glitter makeup swallowed in the intestine at autopsy. And it's actually plastic and it doesn't really decompose. So I'm not a fan of glitter makeup. I just want to say this. But it spreads and it's so much evidence. And with this kind of thinking that we go into every single case. So we always have to look for what got transferred. So in a insulin poisoning case, we want to look for the artificial insulin as opposed to the natural endogenous insulin. We want to look for needle puncture marks, etc. So there's no such thing as the perfect murder. We've always assumed that they're cleverer than us, that they know all the methods, and they've been watching the latest CSI. So, yeah, we don't want to miss a murder. And we every single case we pretend is a murder, so we go into every single case with that kind of suspicion.
Skepties. Ja.
Yeah, skeptical.
Ek wil ook 'n opvolgvraag nou vra op dit. Wat maak dit moeilik om die tyd van iemand se dood te bepaal en hoe verskil dit byvoorbeeld as 'n liggaam vir 'n tydperk in die water was teenoor wanneer dit byvoorbeeld in 'n veld gelê het?
Alright, so this is a whole field called thanatology, which is the science of time since death. So we need to study all of this. You know, we need to know how long a body's been dead. And just to answer your question, there's like a law called 8 to 2 to 1. So a body decomposes 8 times faster in the air, half as fast in the water, and 1 times like slower underground. And that's why people get buried. So decomposition takes the slowest underground, twice as fast in water, and 8 times faster in air. And it has to do with dissimilar amounts of oxygen in air, water, and underground. So there's a lot of science behind this.
Okay. En wat is volgende vir prof? Gaan prof nog 'n boek skryf?
Well, I hope so. I've got so much stuff I need to share with the public. Obviously, it's very sensitive stuff. It's about the lessons for the living from the autopsy table. Like, there's messages here. You should never have the same death twice. So if I can put that information out there and say, like, you know, don't do this is dangerous, and save a life, then I think my job is done.
Dit was prof Blumenthal, skrywer van Outopsietafel. Ek is Mariska Nani vir Marula Media.